Welcome, future real estate professionals, and Melissa, who's also watching. Yes, you, Melissa. Thanks for joining us today. Here is the bite sized board info for this topic. Feel free to look it over, pause if you need to, as Melissa picks up her jaw off the floor and wonders if I really just said her name. Melissa, you said you needed a sign? Well, this is it. It's real and it's happening right now. As you may know, details matter. Big print giveth, and fine print taketh away. So stick around and learn all the important tidbits. And as always, we'll give you easy to understand definitions that you can relate to in your daily life. We'll follow that up with real world exam prep examples for each individual section. So pick up that coffee, Melissa, and let's focus. Oh, and Melissa, make sure you stick around for the last 2 minutes of this video. They're made just for you. And you're simply not prepared for what we have in store for you. Today we're covering the key elements you need to know about the essentials of a valid contract. These are the building blocks of any real estate transaction, and crucial for passing your exam and succeeding in your career. So, let's get started. For a contract to be valid, all parties involved must be legally competent, of legal age, sound mind, and not under any influence that could impair their judgment. In real estate, this means ensuring all parties can legally agree to the terms. Otherwise, it's like hiring a mime to give a keynote speech. Lots of gestures, but no substance. In a scenario where someone is not of legal age, not a sound mind, or under any influence that would impair their judgment, that contract is voidable because they lack the capacity to understand and agree. Here's a real-world exam prep example. Oof, that's a lot of words. Now, imagine you're helping a new client with a real estate transaction, but it turns out that the other party is only 17 years old. This youth was not even aware that their age would be an issue. According to real estate laws, they simply are not of legal age to enter into a binding contract. The contract signed by a minor is considered voidable. This means that the minor has the option to either honor the contract or he can choose to void it. If the minor chooses to proceed with the contract after reaching the age of majority, usually 18, the contract can be ratified and become fully enforceable. However, if the minor decides to void the contract, they can do so, and it will not be legally binding. Again, I want to emphasize that a contract signed by a minor is voidable by the minor, not the other party. To clarify, the minor holds the power to enforce or void the contract upon reaching adulthood. Also, I should mention a quick side note about emancipated minors. In the eyes of the law, emancipated minors are treated as adults, giving them the right to enter into enforceable contracts, including those related to real estate. Okay, let's go over another possible scenario you might see on your exam. Imagine you are about to finalize a real estate deal, but you find out that the seller has been declared mentally incompetent by a court. According to real estate laws, they do not have the legal capacity to enter into a binding contract. The contract signed by someone who's been declared mentally incompetent is considered void. This means that the contract has no legal effect and cannot be enforced because a person lacks the capacity to understand and agree to the terms. Alright, now that we have covered competent parties, let's move on to the next critical element. Offer and acceptance. For a contract to be valid, there must be a clear offer and acceptance of that offer. In real estate, this means one party makes a clear proposal, the offer, and the other party agrees to the terms, acceptance. It's like setting the terms of a deal and both parties shaking hands on it, so to speak. In real estate, the buyer makes an offer to purchase a property and the seller accepts it. This forms a mutual agreement, which is the foundation of any contract. It's important to note that for acceptance to be valid, it must mirror the terms of the offer exactly, often referred to as the mirror image rule. Any deviation from the original terms actually constitutes a counteroffer, not an acceptance. So basically, just so that it's clear to you, a counteroffer replaces the original offer because it refused the initial terms, and it brings in new ones, really becoming a new offer. Imagine you're representing a buyer who makes an offer to purchase a property for $500,000. The seller reviews the offer and decides to accept it without any changes. This mutual agreement forms a binding contract. However, if the seller wanted to change the terms of the offer slightly, this would constitute a counteroffer, not an acceptance. For example, if the seller counters with a price of $520,000, the original offer is void, and the buyer must accept the counteroffer for a binding contract to be formed. Just remember, offer and acceptance is like setting and committing to the terms of the deal. Both parties need to be on the same page for the agreement to be valid. Alright, let's move on to the next section. Third on the list is lawful object. This is where we ensure that our contracts are not only valid, but also legal and ethical. For a contract to be valid, its purpose has to be legal and above board, so to speak. In real estate, this means that the deal has to follow all the relevant laws and regulations. In real estate, the contract must involve legal activities. For instance, you can't have a valid contract to sell a property for illegal purposes, like using a residential home as a nightclub without proper zoning, permits, all that. Funny, I actually remember a story where this happened in Indianapolis. Someone tried to run a nightclub out of a house without the proper permits, zoning, all that. But I gotta appreciate the hustle. Now imagine, you're helping a client purchase a property. But later you discover the seller does not actually own the property. This means the contract would be void, because its purpose is not lawful, and the seller has no legal right to sell the property. This reminds me of another story about a dude who sold a non-existent airport to a Brazilian bank for something like $250 million. Of course, this sale, being based on false premises and fraudulent intention, would make the contract void. Come to think of it, there was an episode of the spy TV series Chuck, where a conman character tries to sell a huge office building that he doesn't even own. He told Chuck, "The bigger the lie, the easier it is to believe." Similarly, this real life guy was trying to sell a non-existent airport. Crazy, crazy, crazy. He must have been a huge Chuck fan, just like me. Speaking of that, does anyone want to buy an oceanfront property in Arizona? From my front porch, you can see the sea. Or however that song goes. Though then, to summarize, a contract must have legal purpose to be valid. And of course, agreements must be made willingly without coercion, threats, manipulation, or deceit. Alright, the next crucial element in our list of contract essentials is consideration. Consideration is all about what each party brings to the table in a contract. It's the value exchanged between the parties, making the contract binding and enforceable. For a contract to be valid, there must be consideration, something of value given by both parties. In real estate, this usually means the buyer provides the money or a promise to pay, and the seller provides the property. But consideration doesn't always have to be cash money. It can be anything of value, such as a property, services, or even Bitcoin. As long as both parties agree on what is being exchanged, the consideration is valid. I should note that if the consideration is illegal, like illicit drugs, stolen goods, or proceeds from criminal activities, the contract is void and unenforceable. Engaging in a contract with illegal consideration means the agreement has no legal standing. Let's do an example. Imagine you're helping a buyer purchase a home. The buyer agrees to pay $300,000, and the seller agrees to transfer the property. The $300,000 is the buyer's consideration, and the property is the seller's consideration. This mutual exchange makes the contract valid and enforceable. So remember, consideration is like the glue that holds a contract together. Both parties need to bring something of value to the table to make the agreement binding. Whether it's money, property, services, or even cryptocurrency, anything you agree that has value. Alright, let's move on to the next essential element in our contract series. Finally, let's talk about form. This is like writing down your favorite recipe instead of just memorizing it. It makes the agreement official and easier to reference later. Real estate contracts must be in writing to be enforceable. A verbal agreement might be nice, but it won't hold up in court if things go sideways. Always ensure your contracts are in writing to provide clarity and a tangible record. For instance, when you're buying or selling a property, a written contract helps protect both parties and makes the agreement enforceable. All parties signing must be of legal age and must enter into the contract voluntarily, not by force, to be enforceable. This means that no one can be coerced, threatened, or even tricked into signing. For your exam, know that the statute of frauds requires certain contracts, like the sale of real estate, to be in writing. This prevents misunderstandings and provides clear evidence to the agreement. For example, if you verbally agree to buy a house, but later the seller changes the terms, you have no legal recourse without a written contract. Of course, like many things, there might be some small exceptions that vary from state to state. For instance, some states might recognize certain verbal agreements under specific conditions, such as a verbal agreement for a short-term lease, typically 1 year or less, or part performance. But the main takeaway, folks, is that you should get those contracts in writing to be enforceable. Remember, getting everything in writing is like having a solid recipe. It ensures everyone knows the ingredients and the steps to follow, preventing any mix-ups or any cooking Pinterest fails. So make sure your real estate contracts are in writing, clear, and signed by all parties who are of legal age and willingly enter into the agreement. And there you have it. A quick tour through the essential elements of a valid contract. We have competent parties, offer and acceptance, lawful object, consideration, and form. Keep learning with us, and you'll be passing your exam with flying colors in no time. As you may know, many people dream of becoming real estate professionals. But dreams, they can be funny, bizarre, and wild. And then there's Melissa. Well, Melissa, you dream in neon-soaked medieval 1980s power ballad space operas. So, if you never had a boy stand on your front porch, under the glow of a summer moon, passionately singing a song he wrote just for you, then get ready. Your ship has finally come in. Strap in and get ready to rock on this galactic journey.
This is why